Incarceration of a loved one can impact their family in a multitude of ways. It can impact their physical health, their mental health, their finances, education, family dynamics, socialization, behavior, and coping skills. When someone has an incarcerated loved one, it can increase their chances of becoming homeless, and it can increase their rates of alcohol use and drug dependency. It can also increase their isolation because of embarrassment, shame, or stigma of having a loved one who is incarcerated. Parents who have a child who is incarcerated can have higher rates of heart attacks and heart failure, which can take years off of their life. There are also increased effects, physical health and mental health, in Black Americans more than white Americans, which causes racial disparities between the two and their impacts on them. For children who have parents who are incarcerated, have higher chances of having high cholesterol and asthma, and they have higher chances and risks of dropping out of school. They have lower school performance and higher delinquency, and they have a higher risk of having ADHD and other learning disabilities. They have a higher risk of abuse and neglect, and overall, for all family members who have a loved one who is incarcerated, they have lower financial support, which can cause them to take on more part-time jobs and odd jobs just to make ends meet, and it can increase their housing instability and homelessness. Having a family member who is incarcerated can impact their family relationships and sense of connection to one another, and it can change their family roles while they are incarcerated and when they are released from incarceration and come back home. This can have a lack of connection and involvement with their family while they are incarcerated because of their inability to see one another and have take part in their family's lives, and so this can affect them, their family members who are incarcerated, as well as the family members who have a loved one who is incarcerated.
Hello, my name is Alice, and I'm here to discuss about how children are with having a parent or parents who are or have been previously incarcerated. First things on the agenda, I'm going to talk about the children's age and what feelings are they feeling at that age that I'm going to describe. After discussing about that, I'm going to discuss about the health, both the physical and mental health as well. And then I'm going to discuss about the demographics, in terms of the number of children who have incarcerated parents, as well as the race. After talking about the demographics, it is important to talk about the impact, about the risk factors that happen with having a parent or parents who are or have been previously incarcerated. After discussing about the impact, I will be going into detail about the child welfare, about who remains and who gets custody, as well as that. And then after discussing about child welfare, I'm going to discuss about the statistics about the arrest, that happened in front of their child. So, as previously stated, I'm going to discuss about the child's age and their feelings. So first things is that the child between the ages of 2 to 6 years old, they may be feeling or are feeling separation anxiety, a traumatic stress, survivor's guilt, which is a form of emotional stress. Then between the ages of 7 and 10 years old, developmental regressions occur. Poor self-concept occurs, acute traumatic stress reactions, impaired ability to overcome future trauma does happen. Then between the ages of 11 and 14 years old, the child may experience rejection on limits of behavior and trauma reactive behaviors as well. Between the teen years of 15 and 18 years old, the premature termination of dependent of a relationship with a parent does happen, which can lead to intergenerational crime and incarceration as well. Then we're going to discuss about health now. So first things for health is that for mental health, it does increase a risk for depression, and as well as difficulty forming attachment, difficulty sleeping and concentrating, anxiety, emotional withdrawal, cognitive delays, and developing trust is very difficult at that age. And then Also, for physical health, there is an increased risk for asthma, obesity, with a later risk of high cholesterol, migraines, HIV and or AIDS, and overall a poor/fair health compared to those who do not experience these with a parent who is incarcerated. In terms of demographics, more than 2 million children in the United States have incarcerated parent, which is roughly 1 in 28 children. Approximately 10 million children have experienced parental incarceration at some point in their lives. About 1 in 9 African American children, which is 11.4%, 1 in 28 Hispanic children, which is 3.5%, and 1 in 57 white children, which is 1.8% in the United States, have an incarcerated parent. About half of these children with incarcerated parents are under the age of 10 years old. In regards of impact, there are huge risk factors with having a parent who has or is currently incarcerated. Risk factors include substance abuse, mental health issues, inadequate education and housing, and which also includes living in poverty and instability for housing as well. In terms of child welfare, about 2% of incarcerated fathers and 8 to 10% of mothers have children in foster care, which does not counter and take an effect of kinship care placements. 25% of children live with their fathers when a mother goes to prison, and about 90% of children live with their mother when a father is incarcerated. About 50% of a child with an incarcerated mother live with their grandmother. And then in the child welfare system, about 1 in 10 children in home settings are living with somebody who is on probation. In terms of arrests, about 67% were handcuffed in front of their children. About 67% parents were handcuffed in front of their children. About 27% reported that weapons were drawn in front of their children. Then an additional 4.3% reported a physical struggle of parent physical struggle. Then an additional 3.2 reported a use of pepper spray. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Reentry programs are designed to assist incarcerated individuals with a successful transition to their community after they are released. Services typically consist of drug rehabilitation, education, housing, employment, and medical services. It also requires helping offenders change their attitudes and beliefs about crime, addressing mental health issues, providing mentoring, offering educational opportunities, and job training. The first type of reentry involves formal government supervision and support upon release through probation or parole. Various forms of reentry programs have been found to be an effective tool at reducing future crime and ensuring people become contributing members of their community after paying their debt to society. Prisoners rely heavily on their family for housing and support immediately after their release. Prisoners generally benefit from returning to their families. 26% of released prisoners said support from family as the most important factor in staying out of prison. The second form of reentry involves an individual voluntarily accepting or seeking admittance to government and community-based programs that will prepare them for reentry and provide them with support services when they can return to their communities. Addressing homelessness for people that are released from jail. Homelessness among the 5 million formerly incarcerated people living in the United States, finding that formerly incarcerated people are almost 10 times more likely to be homeless than the general public. Rates of homelessness are especially high among specific demographics, which are people who have been incarcerated more than once, people recently released from prison, people of color, and women. Reentry programs can help with these situations with providing assistance with finding a stable home or shelter that can be temporarily until an individual is able to get back on their feet. There's something called the revolving door, and that is when people that keep getting incarcerated are more likely to be in the cycle of homelessness and incarceration. There has been 279 people in the revolving door of prison per 10,000 populations. Formerly incarcerated individuals tend to experience joblessness and poverty that started long before they were ever locked up. When they're released from prison, the pressure is on to get a job. Our analysis shows that formerly Incarcerated people are unemployed at a rate of over 27%, higher than the total U.S. unemployment rate during any historical period. Reentry programs are a great resource and service to help these individuals get back on their feet with a job and seek more opportunities. Formerly incarcerated individuals are focused on employment and training assistance. Various types of employment programming are commonly implemented as reentry programs. Reentry programs can help you assist with getting your ID, driver's license, resumes, and training so you can apply and attain a job that fits your skills. Lastly, mental health is another big issue that people should address and show support to during and after incarceration. 37% of people in state and federal prisons who have been diagnosed with mental illness. 66% of people in federal prisons who reported not receiving any mental health care while incarcerated. Luckily, there has been a small rise in diversion programs such as mental health courts or drug courts across the country. These courts work in collaboration with mental health and substance use treatment providers to help individuals who have mental health or substance use problems. Reentry programs can help with coping mechanisms and therapeutic services to talk about your mental health and necessities you need to better it. For example, your mental health could be down due to no social interactions with family or friends, but with a service like reentry programs, they can help mend those broken relationships and reunite and fix what went wrong in the first place.
Hi, I'm Shelly Mays Couch, Director of Lock Family Services. I hope that you have enjoyed the webinar so far. In closing, I'm going to talk about the thousands of dollars that families pay out just to communicate with their incarcerated loved ones. Some jails charge about $1.05 every 15 minutes. At least 7 institutions in Virginia charge $10 a call. There are so many high prices when it comes to incarceration that impacts the love, the incarcerated loved ones and their families' connections and ability to stay connected, and for a family to be able to support their incarcerated loved one also means that individual or that family is suffering loss of income because of the prices connected to an individual being incarcerated. The state of Virginia is one of those states that truly have high costs when it comes to commissary, when it comes to phone calls, and many times the family is the ones who are sending in that funding to provide the support for that incarcerated loved one. So we're here today to just talk about how families are affected, are impacted by an individual loved one that is incarcerated. One of those things is income. Another one of those reasons is communication. If it's that costly to communicate with family, a lot of times families are not able to communicate. And also, it's common in the state of Virginia and maybe some other states for individuals who are incarcerated to be shipped or to basically be located into an area miles and miles away from where they're originally from. There are reasons for that, I'm sure. However, it also makes and causes strain on family members because they're not able to actually physically see their loved one. And that can be daunting, and that can really cause a lot of things such as drug abuse. It could cause individuals within families to have mental health issues related to that. And also, what we're seeing a lot of is that individuals being released and enrolled with Lock Family Services um, having no idea where their family are or where their family is located because they lost that communication not by choice but by force because they were unable to afford to call them and contact them to keep up with their location. And so we're having a lot of individuals being released with nowhere to go because of the fact that they lost that communication. In the state of Connecticut, they just recently became one of the first state to make all communication in prison and jails completely free. Isn't that nice? The thought that communicating with your family would be free. You know, it's something because as a community in the rural area that we serve, here in Prince Edward County, Cumberland, Buckingham, and other surrounding counties, um, it's already hard to communicate now, because of the fact that the services is not all that good. We got trees everywhere around us, right? So to even make it even more difficult, to communicate is a shame. It's a shame. Um, if we were able to increase that communication, just think about the ability, for children, to talk with their incarcerated loved ones more frequently. Frequent communication can be linked with decrease in the likelihood of drug use. It could be linked with greater chances of finding employment because families can interact in that process, not just having reentry organizations start, that process, but families can actually be involved. Also, it could actually help with lowering the recidivism rate because that is a huge deal for the recidivism rate to be lowered, and for our communities to be safe. So one of the things that I would say is when we actually provide individuals the ability to connect with their families more often, we are actually keeping our communities even more safe because we're allowing them to continue those relationships. We're allowing them to actually still interact and maybe even mend some broken bridges while they're incarcerated and supposedly being rehabilitated. Um, I close with saying that we all play a major part in reentry. Every community service board, every community organization, even every individual just like you can cause change in your community. You can create it and you can be a part of it. So, Lock Family Services, if you all don't know, we are a community based reentry organization. We are the only ones and that's serving the rural areas within our service area. And that would include Appomattox, Amelia, Brunswick, Buckingham, Cumberland, Charlotte County, Lunenburg, Nottoway, Mecklenburg, and even Prince Edward County. And what I will say is, we do realize that there is a need of services. There is not only a need of services, there's a need of networking. So, with all the services that we do have, because we have services, if all of the services came together just to assist in the reentry process, we will definitely be in a better shape. And this is what we're here to do as well. We're here to connect the resources for every individual coming out of incarceration back into the communities and taking them out of the survival mode into being productive citizens. We do everything through faith, hope, and love. Thank you so much for attending this webinar today. And I hope that you enjoyed it. And we hope to be able to have your support. Thank you. Bye bye.